Alright, so this thing is still sealed up from keys. I have yet to look at these taillights. I'm super excited. I'm gonna get the first look along with you guys. Let's jump into it. Oh, sweet. Got a new keys jet tag. Their clean new logo. Looks good. And a new keys sticker. Oh my goodness. Bring you guys in so you can see what I'm looking at here. I don't even have the plastic off and these things look sick. Absolutely sick. So we do have a two-piece taillight here on the F30, of course. We have the outer taillight section. Oh, baby. Look at that. Gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Such a rich red. It's a dark red. It's darker than the stock ones, I think, for sure. Woo. All right, so I'm dying to peel this plastic off of these taillights, and I want to get some nice shots of them here on the table, but I really don't want to get my grimy mitts all over them. They're brand new, so we're gonna keep the plastic on until we get them installed on the car. But just to review things a little bit more closely here, we do have two outer taillights and two inner taillights to kind of get them set up how they'll look on the car. We'll have our two outer taillights, this driver's side inner light and the passenger side inner light. Go like that. These things look killer. You also saw me pull out of a bag here this little wire assembly. These are actually two separate wires. They're both identical. One end has this quick connector pre-installed and the other end does not. You'll see why, because the connector couldn't get through the hole that we're gonna be snaking this bare lead through, although it's not actually bare leads. It's a little crimped on connector, which will go into these two female connectors on the car. So hold on to these, don't lose them. Of course, we also got our sweet jet tag and decal. I'm a little bit curious. I don't know what these wires are for. Looks like an additional fuse or capacitor. We do have two of them. Not sure if this is applicable to the pre-LCI or if it's only for the LCI models. I'm gonna do a little bit more research before we dive into the install. But in terms of pre-LCI versus LCI, I do have good news for you in terms of the connectors being different, because the pre-LCI that I have actually has different taillight connectors from the new LCI taillights, meaning the wiring and connectors on the cars is actually different. However, these taillights come pre-wired for both the pre-LCI and the LCI. You can see there's two connectors. We're only going to be plugging into one of them, but nice to know that they're compatible with both models. All right, it's way too nice out right now to not do this outside, and we don't even need to put this on the lift whatsoever, so let's just do this outside. Let's pop the trunk, and I'll be showing you on the driver's side here how to swap out your taillight. The first step is taking your flathead screwdriver and remove this little grommet right here. It is threaded, but over time they wear out, so you might have to stick your screwdriver behind it and just pop it out like so. Set this aside. Now this whole drip tray can come out. Just pull the top, pull it up, and those two little tabs at the bottom will come out of their holes. Now using a 10mm socket, we'll remove the two lock nuts holding on the taillight. Removing the taillight itself from the car is really easy from this point. It's literally just those two fasteners, and we also have a little ball joint socket in this corner. So that's the only thing holding it in at this point. I like to put a hand around the right side and another hand on the face, pull straight back, and it'll pop right out. You can see better here. Here's the little ball, and here's the rubber socket. We can unplug the taillight just by pressing down on this little connector and unplugging it, and that takes care of removing the outer taillight here. That's the easier part. Now to get the inner taillight out, there's a number of fasteners around the outside of this felt liner here. The first being this Phillips head style rivet. All you have to do is back this off maybe half a dozen turns, and you should be able to pull the grommet right out. And then on the pre-LCI, they use these Torx. I believe this is a T20 or a T25 Torx. Let's find out really quickly. Yep, it's a T25. So T25 Torx to remove those two screws there. Then we pull off all the rivets, disconnect our trunk release cable right here. Just have to press this little tab forward and release the cable. Use two hands to do so. we'll pull off the felt liner and access those inner taillights. We'll also need to pull off this plastic trim on the arms. So just pop those two little tabs on the side there. Gently remove this. With the felt out of the way, we can now access the inner taillights here, just to keep with the driver's side. Here is our driver's side 10mm fastener. This can be an 8mm on the LCIs. On the pre-LCI, it's a 10mm. You don't have to fully remove it, it's just a clamp mechanism. So just back this off close to the end and we should be able to remove it. While it's still mounted, we can unplug the inner taillight. Just a little press tab. After loosening that up a little, you should be able to pop the taillight out. You don't have to fully remove it. You have to bring it all the way down to the end and then it'll come off, or just remove the entire mechanism and same deal, your stock inner taillight will come right out. I do want to quickly note, look at that. It says halogen bulbs. Come on, we need that LED life. Let's get these new taillights installed. So our new inner taillight does in fact have an 8mm here. I'm gonna pull off this bracket. Well, let's try to put it on without pulling it off first. I've loosened it up all the way to the end. Should be able to install it just like so. Now, the most critical part about this inner taillight installation is getting the clips on the outside here clipped in properly, and then this inner clamp assembly. So get it fully seated in there. Now we'll firmly press down right here. This step kind of has to be done in one fluid motion because this outer clip hooks into this slot right here. So get it in there, have this side pulled out so that the clip can tilt and notch into that little slot. Press in towards the center of the car and it should all come together. You can verify that it's correctly installed by pulling backwards right here. The taillight should be secure and it shouldn't come off at all. Once it is, we can put the tailgate up and tighten down that 8mm on the bracket. Make sure there's no play. Don't over tighten, of course, it's a plastic bracket, but make sure there's no play. Nice and snug. And like I said, we have two plugs, but we're only going to be using one of them, the smaller plug on the pre-LCI here. Run our cable over to that, clip it in. Now I'll take one of the two included wires, take the end that has the pre-installed connector, plug it into the small black and yellow wire connector right here, clips right in. And now we have to run it down this arm. On the passenger side, there is a wire loom that you can zip tie this wire to. On the driver's side, there is not, so we'll just have to zip tie it to this edge of the arm. Just a few zip ties down the arm and you'll be ready to rock. At this point, we'll use a plastic pry tool to reach behind the felt carpet, kind of pull it out. Should be able to run the wire right through this hole here, grab it on the other side, gently pull it through. Pulling back the carpet again, can feed the leads right through this small hole right here. You actually want to leave most of the slack behind this felt carpet here. Tuck it up over the spring there. This arm goes that way. So if we were to have the wire taut all the way out here, we'd rip the wire when we close the trunk. So leave enough excess in this little compartment here that your trunk can close. As you can see, it can close and it doesn't pull on this wire at all. So just make sure to keep note of that when installing your new GTS taillights. You can now grab one of these female connectors. Also grab the taillight for the side and figure out which way this connector plugs in. It can only plug in one way, but plug it in and then take note which hole goes to the yellow wire and which hole goes to the black wire. So with the connector facing this way, the black wire is gonna go in the hole closer to me. So we'll take this little pin, stick it in there, it'll have a little click, and then it won't come out. Don't try to pull on it because you'll break the tab. Once it's in there, it's in there. Do the same with the red over on the other side, and our connector is wired up. At this point, we're free to take our new GTS OLED taillight, plug in the connector that we just wired in, this little black connector here, plug it in, it'll lock into place. And then as we did on the other taillight, we have two different connectors and they are labeled pre-LCI and LCI. So that's pretty nice. We don't have to figure out which one it is. Plug it in. And with that plugged in, you can tuck all of our wiring up into the back corner. We'll line up the ball socket. We'll now reinstall our two 10mm lock nuts right here. It's a good idea to press against the taillight while you do this so it's fully inserted. And that's it. We now have a GTS OLED taillight. Oh my gosh, it still has the plastic on, but it looks crazy compared to stock. Before we switch this one, here's stock. Here's the new GTS OLED. You can see what I was talking about. It's a nice, deep, rich red compared to stock. Oh man, that just looks so good. Here's some satisfying plastic peeling. That's crazy. Same exact process over on the passenger side, of course. I'm gonna crank that off camera and we'll take a look at these awesome new GTS taillights. Oh, also something I want to note before we swap out this stock taillight. You'll see the stock F30 taillight here. It's flush with the body. It's really tucked in there. Everything is flush with the body. Doesn't poke out at all. Looking at this new GTS OLED taillight, it actually bumps out quite a bit, maybe, I don't know, half an inch from the trunk. You can see it popping out there. Same thing with this taillight. It pops out just a little bit, and I like that look a lot. It just makes the taillight really pop. Looks great. Alright folks, they're both on here. Looks absolutely killer, even with the lights off. It looks so good. I am super stoked. Look at those things. Woo. So it's really as easy as that. I think anyone can do this at home in 1 to 2 hours. Took me a little bit longer filming everything, but I think anyone can do this at home with very minimal hand tools in under 2 hours. Not a very difficult install, not very stressful, and look at this dance. How can you not like that? So overall, pretty happy with these taillights. My only complaint would be the fitment of the lens towards the front. There's a little bit of a gap here, and in most situations that's not going to matter. On this side, the wrap looks pretty good there. You can't really see the edge of the wrap unless you look at it head on like that. On this side it's a little bit more annoying just because of that wrap seam right there. Aside from that, the fitment is really good. All the lines match up very well, and they look fantastic. Plug and play. The sequential turn lights, I couldn't really see the reverse lights from in the car, but I could see on the walls and in the reflection of the camera. I'm fairly certain those are bright white reverse lights. And we have the sick OLED little, I don't even know what you call those, cubes? OLED cubes in there. Winglets. They're just Gorgeous. So that's gonna wrap up this video on the Keys Motorsports GTS OLED taillights. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please go leave a like down below. As always, leave any comments or questions down below. Use discount code JD5 at Keys Motorsports to get 5% off your entire order. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on JD Cars.